All right, guys, here we go. Another episode of Nuance. How's it going? It is late here in Ningbo. It's about 11 o'clock. I wasn't really planning on making a video, but I think that for the first couple of weeks of Nuance, I'll try and put content out on a regular basis to try and get the channel sort of kickstarted. So I'm recording this the day before you see it, I think. So today, I'm using yesterday's episode about my relationship with a YouTuber called SerpentZA, Winston, as a precursor to this episode. So this episode is going to add a little nuance to something that he said in one of his videos with his buddy Matt Lowy86 that I kind of take issue with. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to watch the clips, and then we'll talk about them, and then we'll add a little context, add a little nuance to what they're saying. So here we go. The situation is they're doing a podcast, and they just sort of free-form talk about issues regarding China and their thoughts on those issues. Anyways, here we go.
A friend of ours is named ZachP. He's
a
really
YouTuber.
Yeah, he's very much into snowboarding.
Yeah.
So before we keep going, the backdrop behind them, it certainly isn't a beautiful IKEA-branded polka dot colored drapes that I have, and it's certainly not this wooden door. They do a lot of their stuff on a green screen, and then they take content from people here in China, because they're not in China, they're in America, and they kind of want to make it feel like, you know, they have a Chinese situation going on behind them while they're talking about China. And so they get people from China to give them content. And so a fellow YouTuber by the name of ZachP supplied them with this footage for them to play in the back of their podcast.
And he was like, guys, I want you to show everybody what kind of the top 1% gets to see, who goes to these, skiing resorts and stuff.
Okay, so, Zach likes to snowboard, and he likes to snowboard at this place, which is near where he lives. And he recorded footage and sent it to Winston so that they could put it behind their video. But you can probably get what I'm talking about here. 1%.
Just thought you would all be interested in seeing what the top 1% kind of deals with. So
yeah, it's actually even lower than that, because even the top 1% don't usually do winter sports.
Sure.
Really? Only the top 1% do winter sports, and actually not even 1%. We're probably talking about 1% of 1%. And as a matter of fact, Chinese people are allergic to snow. If they touch snow, they break out in a horrible rash.
It's very rare
the
in
fact of the
China.
matter is you get to see, a ski resort.
Also, boycott the Olympics in China. A good segue.
Sure.
Okay, well, you got to finish it off strong, right? So Matt interjects that they should boycott the Olympics, and that's a completely different issue we're not going to discuss in this episode. This episode is basically retorting their claim that only the top 1% of Chinese people get to experience ski resorts. They're the only ones that can afford this kind of thing. And even if they can afford it, most of them don't do these kinds of things. They're sort of, they're not sophisticated enough to do that sort of a sport. So now their friend ZachP, who got the footage for them, he must have been getting some heat from some people saying that Winston and Matt were using your footage and castigating Chinese people for being too poor to afford winter sports. And so ZachP decided to make a video himself showing everybody that, see, you really do have to be 1% of 1% even to do these kind of winter sports. Let's take a few clips of his video.
So, the average wage in Jilin is 3,000 RMB, right? Your board is what, 6K you said? Yeah.
Okay, so he talked to two people on the mountain in this video, as well as himself, and he compared the costs of the equipment that people were using. He was also comparing the equipment that he was using as well, and then his fellow snowboarders.
What about like a day ticket? How much is a day ticket here?
Now it's like 200 yuan.
Right?
So then the guy says that the day ticket there is about 200 yuan to go on the hill. We'll talk about pricing a little bit later and find out if that is something that only 1% of people in China can afford. But let's keep going. He also mentioned that the average salary in Jilin, the province that he lives in, is 3,000 RMB. So take note of that.
What about like your normal stuff like goggles, helmets, and all that sort of stuff? Like if you want to just round it up.
Yeah, maybe you cost your 10K, like 10,000, the whole equipment.
Right.
The whole suit.
Right.
Okay, so this guy with his Burton board paid about 10,000 RMB for his setup. That's including the board and everything. So keep that in mind.
So it's only for like, you know, middle class and like
for
upper
Sweden.
class.
I
Right.
think you are right.
So Zach kind of coaxes the guy to say, well, this is only for middle class or upper class. Now, middle class and upper class, I don't even think upper class is 1%. So if he's on the ground saying middle class or upper class, right there, he's basically invalidating Winston's claim that winter sports are only a 1%. Now, remember, Zach is only talking about snowboarding and a few other factors we'll get into later. He decides to cover up the screen with an overlay where he kind of does a conclusion and talks about the fact that he talked to two people, one of which on the mountain was an actual guy that was sponsored and had his equipment sponsored. So this guy was if you're sponsored by a professional board company like Burton, you got to be pretty elite. I mean, at that point in time, that you've almost got to eliminate that guy from your statistics because he was getting all of his stuff for free anyways. So he had one guy and himself, and his setup was around 10,000 RMB, and his friends was around 12,000 RMB. And his conclusion, which he stated in red, was SerpentZA and Laowa 86 are not lying about China. Get over it. Okay, so what does this mean in the whole grand scheme of things? I'm not trying to attack ZachP. I don't watch a lot of his videos. He does commentary stuff. I'll leave links to his videos in the description below. If you're interested, you can go watch his videos. I think he does a lot of skiing and winter sports. And you might find some of his videos of him skiing and his opinions on things interesting. I don't know. I'll also leave a link in the description for the video from Winston. This channel is going to be pretty open about the sources that I use, and there's no hiding here. I'm simply trying to give you guys a little insight into maybe why things are said the way they're said, and give you context to prove that maybe they're not being completely truthful. Okay, so now that we know that, let's back that up with some data. Let's see exactly what somebody might have to spend if they want to go on the mountain to go skiing. Let's not even really talk about snowboarding, because snowboarding is a type of winter sports, but really those resorts are designed for skiing and experiencing the winter landscape. Snowboarding is almost something that's basically elite in even America. There's not a lot of people that snowboard. There's a lot more people that ski. So this resort that he was at was called the Songhua Resort in Jilin. It's one of 11 ski resorts in Jilin. And it's got a gamut of pricing options. You can ski on the mountain for 124 RMB, which is about 19 US dollars. But that doesn't involve gear, and that's the cheapest cost. That is on Wednesday. There's like a special on Wednesday. So if you really had a couple of skis that are pretty cheap, you can buy them used or something. You could go on the cheap, get on that mountain and ride for $19 or 124 RMB. But that would be like you trying to pick the cheapest day to go and you have your equipment. If you don't have your equipment, then you need to rent it, and they have rentals there. So you don't have to drop 10,000 RMB at a stop to buy all of your snowboarding gear. And I don't think skis are as much as snowboards anyways. But if you did want a full day skiing with ski gear that they supply, you just have to wear a warm jacket. You don't have to buy crazy goggles and gear. Those are for the people that might want to really take this on as a hobby. We're just talking about people who, enjoy a winter sport now and then. Basically, anybody else in the world other than people that live in the alpine ski regions. A full day of skiing with gear is 480 RMB per person and $74 for a full day with gear. If you do a half day, which I think is more common, just go a full day of skiing. That's a long day. But if you go a half day, it's 348 RMB or $53 American for a half day, including gear. Okay. If you want to do something else, there's winter sports in China, and only the elite can go. So these are only the elite prices, actually. Snowmobiling. You can ride a snowmobile for 190 RMB from Songhua Resort. That's about $29 US. You can also do something called the Snow Circle Park, which, as far as winter sports is regarded, I think it's probably more of like a day in winter wonderland, walking around in the snow and enjoying the snow. That's super cheap. That's like 55 RMB or $8.50 American. Now, if you're not in China, you don't know how much money that is. 500 RMB it's kind of expensive. It's not something that you would do every day, but there's many people in China that like to save up and travel for the holidays and times that they have off of work. They're human beings. They like to do things and do recreational activities. And if you're near a snow mountain, almost anywhere in the world, you're going to find a group of people that are going to enjoy to go to the mountain when they have time to, and they'll save up money to go to that mountain. But maybe they just don't have enough money. Maybe they're just so low on the income totem pole that they just don't have any opportunity to spend enough to even go to the mountain. Let's kind of think about that 348 RMB half day with gear, so they don't even have to spend any money on gear. We're not talking about thousands of RMB to get skis and stuff. Just go to the mountain. Zach says that the average income in Jilin, he volunteered this information, is 3,000 RMB per month. To think that somebody in China couldn't save up a couple of hundred RMB a month or 100 RMB a month extra to put aside to go skiing with their family or go on a ski trip. I think even 3,000 RMB a month is feasible. But let's just see. I looked up the yearly income in Jilin. There's a lot of statistics out there, and I'm not trying to castigate Zach. He lives in China. He's heard certain things. He has his finger on the pulse of Jilin. I don't want to really call him out or anything, but this is just information that I've found. 3,000 RMB. It's not an average salary here in Ningbo, the city that I live in China. It used to be, like about 10 years ago, we used to pay factory employees and typical employees around 2,500 and up, but it's gone up since then. But I mean, I don't know. I just looked online and on a website called Statista. It said the Jilin average yearly income was 73,813 RMB. That equals 6,151 RMB per month. So that's more than double what Zach was hearing from his people. So I don't know either way. It's just some information out there. All right, so let's look at another factor, top 1%. What do the top 1% of Chinese people have? What do they have available to them? Well, the top 1% of Chinese families, from the Wall Street Journal, mind you, hold an average of $1.6 million in assets, while an average of Chinese household wealth is 680,000 versus 499,000 US dollars per average American family. The top 1% is a totally different breed. These are people that are making, a lot more money to spend on activities. Those are the people that might be able to splurge and go to the Alpine mountains to ski, as opposed to going to their local ski resort in Jilin. Although the ski resort that Zach goes to is quite nice. Now, on the final thing about income, let's just say that ZachP was talking about an average. Average is obviously in the middle. It's the average. There is a group below that that make less, and there is a group above that that make more. And it's average. So there is a considerable portion of people that make more money than that. And much more than the simple 1%. We're talking the 49% above that average make more than 3,000 before you hit that 1%. Obviously, the 50% below 3,000 average would make less, but just to put that in context, it's certainly not only 1% that are making more than 3,000 RMB a month. It's the average. Okay, let's look at another thing that they're saying, the winter sports industry. You know, most people in China don't even do that kind of thing. And I hear this a lot from those guys in particular because they think that whatever they've experienced, maybe they didn't see a lot of winter sports in China. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. But, you know, Harbin has an ice festival. Beijing gets covered in snow every year. The northern reaches of China get quite a bit of snow, and even peaks on the southern parts of China get snow enough for people to ski. Even here in Ningbo, there's a ski hill. It's not very big, but it's also not completely prohibitively expensive either. So there's opportunities to ski, but do people take them? I found this online. The scale of Chinese winter sports industry reached 397 billion yuan, 60.17 billion US dollars in 2017. It's expected to hit 600 billion yuan in 2020 and ultimately reach 1 trillion yuan in 2025. So apparently, there's a lot of people that like to do winter sports in China. But wait, Winston and Matt told us that only the elite of 1% even have the option to do it, and even then they don't really want to do it because most people don't even do winter sports in China. I also found this final note. In 2019 to 20, 150 million people took part in winter sports, over 10% of the population. That's more than 1%. And 10% of the population, that's a pretty big number. I think that's, you know, average with most developed countries. You know, they like their winter sports, especially when a lot of their country is enveloped in snow much of the year. So what are my conclusions here? First of all, they were talking about snowboarding in particular and saying that snowboarding on this resort in Jilin was indicative of pretty much every winter sport available in China, and that, you know, people don't even want to do any winter sports anyways. Well, that's disingenuous to say that at all. And I mean, there's people around the world that like to do all sorts of winter sports, and there's much less people that like to do snowboarding. So I feel like that's got to be called out right away. The other thing is, winter sports is not just snowboarding. There's ice skating, skiing, sledding, snowboarding, snowmobiling, team sports, all sorts of things. So I know some people that like to do ice skating. In many of the malls here, they have skating rinks set up. Again, ZachP, when he made his video, he was talking about two people who bought equipment, him and his friend, and his other friend didn't even buy equipment. It was given to him because he's a good snowboarder, and he was sponsored. Conclusion, you can rent gear for a lot cheaper than this inflated number that you're using to justify the fact that most Chinese people can't do something. And I don't think that's fair. Let's see here. The average wage is not 1% of the population's wage. That does not mean average. Just letting you know. The argument that Winston made was that the 1% are the only people that have the opportunity to go to these places, and that most of the 1% wouldn't even do it because winter sports is not very popular. So Zach's argument to that was to say, hey, the average salary here is 3,000 RMB. Think about what they can afford. Well, we're referring to the 1% and upper middle class and even middle class. And I think those categories could safely afford a trip to the slopes with the family if they wanted to. So my conclusion, in no way are water sports reserved for only the elite 1% of Chinese population. Big reveal. Now, that reveal is obvious to anybody watching this video, I hope. But seeing as though it's obvious, why was it made? And that's the key here. Adding the nuance to the fact that what they're saying is disingenuous is only part of the issue here. The other issue is, why would they be talking about it like that? Why would they be saying it's 1%? It's just, only the 1% can afford to go to the slopes, Winter sports are not very popular. Most people don't even want to go. Well, I wrote down a few of my thoughts. These are a list of 7 whys. Why would they say such a thing? Number 1, they say these things to make ignorant people who don't know China feel like there is an enormous disparity between not only rich and poor, but anybody under 1%. They're trying to make you think that if you are under 1%, you are so poor, you are so lacking in opportunity, you are so freakishly repressed and oppressed that unless you're a 1%er, and even 1%ers, I mean, there's another episode I'm thinking about making where Winston says he would much rather be a poor American than an elite 1% Chinese because, he says he basically lived that life in China, and it's not all it's cracked up to be. This is all designed to make you feel, if this is the case for the reason they're saying it, it's all designed to make you feel, holy shit, there is a real problem in China. This problem. This is a real problem in China. Okay, so I think that's probably, you tell me. Do you think that's the viable potential reason for them to say something like that? Let's try another. Number 2, to make yourself seem intelligent. I think in a lot of cases they like to say things because it makes them feel smart. It makes people watching feel like, oh, these guys know what's going on in China. These guys have an insight, and whoa, and it's a fiery topic. They must know because it's something that makes you think, right? It makes you, oh wow, I didn't realize that. Only the 1% can afford to ski. These guys must know what they're talking about, and so it earns them respect and it earns them credibility in saying the rest of the stuff that they say. So that's number 2. What do you think? Number 3, to make China look overly oppressive and elitist. When you use the word the 1% and you refer to the 1% as, people that have control over, the 1%, they drive around in their fancy cars and they crash them all the time, and they live in their high-rise fancy ass apartments and frivolously spend their money and everything. And there are certainly elitist Chinese. I've met a lot of Chinese. I've met some very wealthy. I've met some actual legit billionaires in China. I've seen what their life is like. It is amazing. It's amazing. I've also met some real douchebags who are extremely wealthy. Wealth doesn't really make you a better person. It's just how much money you have in the bank. But if you say the 1%, and then you back it up with only 1% can afford this and only the 1% can afford this, you really start to tell a story in the minds of the people watching your content or listening to what you're saying. So what do you think? Number 3? Number 4, to cast yourself as a wealthy individual of privilege in Chinese society. That's interesting, right? Maybe you say, ZachP can ski on those mountains. And that's another thing that I find interesting. ZachP is a nice guy. I don't know how much money he is. I don't think he's a one percenter. You know, I'm not even a one percenter in China. I'm whatever. But Zach was skiing on those mountains with all those other guys. And in the background of that video, there was a lot of people skiing. And yet, he can ski. And when Winston and Matt are in China, well, they live a pretty nice life. Because, you know, if the only 1% can go skiing and the only 1% can do these things, and he can, he is by default saying that he is 1%er in China, which elevates his status, especially to the people that listen to his videos. They're listening to his videos and saying, oh, wow, well, Winston could probably afford to go skiing. That must have made him like a 1%er. And, you know, in the West, money equals intelligence. I mean, Donald Trump's got a lot of money, must be smart. You know, a lot of these people are rich, they must be smart. And so you start to kind of create a narrative that if I have that money, then maybe I'm better than everybody. Maybe I'm the elitist, you know. And you should listen to me because I know, and you know, I might be an elitist, but I'll tell it to you straight. Not like those bad elitists or those shitty Chinese elitists. But anyways, what do you think? You think that's number 4? Number 5, you are lazy and speak before you think. Do you think? Now, I am certainly a type of person that speaks. Sometimes I put my foot in my mouth. Winston has called me out on me saying something that I thought was true, and then it turns out not to be true. And there's a whole story behind that. And I don't think he was calling me out in the way that he thinks he was calling me out, but he sure made it work that way. He spun the narrative like I was trying to be deceitful. I honestly, if we could get into that in the future, but in this case, do you think that Winston was lazy and he just didn't think before he talked and he just said it? Number 6, you're trying to promote a message. You might even say propaganda. Do you think that he has a motive? Do you think that he has a reason for saying something like that? A reason for changing the people's minds specifically in that direction? Or could it be number 7? You actually think that skiing in China is something only the 1% can do. And you consider 99% of the population to be so low as to not even be able to afford or even appreciate winter sports. Like you're drinking the Kool-Aid. What do you think? Now, if you're trying to promote a message and propagandize, knowing that people in China are way more affluent today than they were yesterday. They're doing much better. The middle class can afford a trip with the family out to the slopes if they want to, and many of them want to. And you have been in China for 15 years. You and Matt have spent a lot of time here. For you guys to miss a detail like this is either ignorance or blatant. Ignorance, I guess you could get by. Maybe you guys don't like skiing. But to say that everybody in China, but the 1% can afford to ski, and even then, not many of them can, you are painting an image of China in people's minds that is wrong. And I don't think that is fair. So, why? So anyways, this has gone a little long. What did you guys think of this? This is the way I'd like to do some of these videos. Deep dive into the topics, into a specific place. Because, listen, I've been called out a few times, and I have apologized and explained myself. And I have tons of these instances inside his videos that have me floored, because I feel like the only reason that you would say something like this, the way that you do, is you want to make people think that China is not the way it is. And why? Anyways, I hope I've added a little nuance to that statement, and I hope that if you do watch his videos, that you understand that you might need to carry some nuance with you to defend yourself against some of the things that they say over there. So thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed this little conversation. I thought it was interesting. It took me a little while to put this together. I'll leave sources in links in the description. Take a look at ZachP's video if you want to. Subscribe to his channel if you want. You know, take a look at Winston's channel just to kind of give yourself an idea of what I'm talking about if you don't know. You know, the more you know, the more you can make accurate opinions and decisions on things. Like I always say, China is not perfect, but it's certainly not imperfect in the way that they are saying, and I think that is very wrong. So, geez, I wasn't even considering to make a video today, so I'm glad I kind of sat down and did, because it's going to take a little while for me to put this thing together, but I think it'll be worth it. So have a good one. Take it easy. It's March, so not, you know, I guess you could go and you could do some winter sports depending on where you are. And if you're in China and you enjoy winter sports, why don't you take a comment and put it in the description. Tell me about your skiing or winter sport experience in the description below. Do you think I'm right? Do you think that winter sports is something only the 1% can do and less than that even want to do? Do you think the statistics I've been giving are wrong? Do you think that I am off in my assumptions in any way? Please leave it in the description below. Also share this video. I think it's important, especially with the people that follow Winston, that they get a counterpoint. Winston actually made a comment on my last video saying, oh no, I've got another channel that's just attacking me. And he said Jayo, using my moniker from my previous channel. And I said, listen, you say some things that make some sense because you lived in China a long time, some things. But you say a lot of things that don't make sense. And I wouldn't be doing due justice if I didn't call those things out, because there are hundreds of thousands, if not a million people who listen to what he says. And I think that's disingenuous not to give them the other side of the coin. He would most certainly give his side of the story on many of these issues, which is where I'm pulling these topics from at all, you know. So he's obviously stating these things, and if he doesn't want them critiqued, then maybe he shouldn't be saying these things, or he should think about them before he does, because I think that this argument is pretty infallible. You let me know. What do you think? If you want to follow me, you can go to Jayo Nation and follow me on my Patreon. I'll leave links to my Patreon. I only have a Jayo Patreon right now. I think I'm trying to figure out if I need to start a Patreon with Nuance or how that works. But there's a WeChat code up in the corner. Otherwise, have a good day. Take it easy, and we'll talk to you in the next episode of Nuance. How does my microphone sound? I'm going to get my new drapes here pretty soon. There's a whole bunch of stuff coming for my little mini studio here. It's going to be good stuff. No more of this. It'll look a lot better than this. Take it easy, guys. Bye.